Hi all, welcome to Coding Tricks. Today we'll see Angular routing. This is part 4 of the series, Angular series. This is the part 4 video. And in this video, I will explain how to create a route and how to navigate from one component to other component. And if we have any query parameters passed from one component to other component, how to access. So all those things we'll see in this video. So yeah, let us start. So before I start defining a separate component, so we'll see a bit what is this app routing module.ts. So this app routing module.ts has been created while I create the project. So if you see my first video while creating Angular project, uh, Angular runtime CLI has asked, do you want to have routing in your application? So if I mentioned yes. So if I have routing yes, if you mention that routing is yes, you mentioned, then it will create this particular file. And in this file, it is already defined routes and router module. So Angular router is the important module which is responsible for routing. So routing is nothing but this, since it is a single page application, so it looks like a multi-page application. To make a single page application look like a multi-page application, internally Angular uses routing. So the routing will mimic the behavior of a multi-page application. So actually it is not a multi-page application, but for the user it will look like a multi-page application. So when you navigate from one component to other component, so it look like a multi-page application. And you will also see there is a change in the URL. So when you are navigating from one component to other component, we have to mention uniqueness of the component. So if you want to load a component 1, and you need to specify path of that component. So if you want to navigate a different component, you need to specify a unique name of that component in the URL. So based on that unique name, routing module will understand, and it will load the route. And it will load the component. So first it will read this routing module, what is the alias we have specified for that particular component. If that alias matches, then it will load that particular component. So that is the purpose of routing. Okay, so to and also one more important thing here. So if you see it here, this is router module, we are using it. So this router module, we need to export it. So by default this will be exported. If you don't export this router module, it will not be accessible in the app module, because app module is the first module. .ts file will be loaded by this particular application, and Angular runtime will read this app module.ts file, and it will also identify what are all the modules available. So since we are exposing routing modules we have declared in a separate file, and we are exposing that. Along with this routing module, we also have to export router module. So if we don't expose, the router module will not work and routing will not be accessible. You will get an error. Okay, so yeah, that's all. And whatever routes we want to have it, that routes we will define inside this routes variable. If you see the constant routes variable, here we will define all the routes. So let us start. I will create a separate component to do this. So what I will do, I'll just take my previous component and I will paste it here, and I'll rename this. Sorry, I'll rename this to second component .ts. I have defined it as second component .ts, and I will take it off all this code. I don't need all this code in this. Okay, and I don't want to use template here. Instead I will use template URL. Okay, and I don't need this for now. I don't need this, so I'm taking off. And I don't need this as well, and I don't need this entire code. Okay, and I need to name this as second component. Okay, so ng I have defined it, so I need to have ng on in it, otherwise it will not accept. So I have placed ng on in it. Okay, that's all. And I have to specify the template URL as I mentioned. So template URL, I want to use it. That means I want to write my HTML code in a separate HTML file instead of within the same TS file. So for that I will have to create a separate file. So I will name it as second component dot html. Okay, so here I will define a div. Inside this div I will write this is second component. Okay, and this particular thing I will load it in my template URL. If you see it, second dot component dot html. That's all. I have loaded it here, and now I have to define this inside my app module. So first I'll go to my app module and I'll have to define this. Import second component from second component. Okay, I have defined this, and after that I need to place it inside my declarations. Okay, that's all. I have done this, and we'll just go and see whether this will work. So first let me compile this code. So code is getting compiled. I don't see any compilation issues, and the page also been loaded. And if you have to see whether the page is working properly or not, you just have to open debugger tools, developer tools. In the developer tools console, if you don't see any error, that means your code is working as expected. Okay, so that's good. So next we'll define routing for this. So to define the routing, we need to go to app routing dot module. Okay, so here I need to define my routing. To define that routing, we need to open the curly braces. So each routing template you need to define in a separate curly braces. Okay, so here you need to specify path. Path is nothing but what is the unique name, alias name you want to give to load this particular component. Okay, so I want to name this particular component home, and what is the component you want to load? I want to load a sample component here, so you need to pass inside this component. Okay, and the second thing, I need to load my second component, and to load the second component I also have to import this here. So I'm importing it, and after that I will define another route template, and this particular thing I will keep it as second, and I want to define this as second component. Okay, so that's all. I have done this, and let me, this code is compiled, and come here and come to browser. Okay, that's nothing is happening. Home. Okay, home page is loaded. So, and we'll see second. Okay, so actually, yeah, actually double time it is coming. That means my sample page is also loading, and my template page is also loading. Second template page is also loading. That means I might have done some change to my app module. So we'll just go to app component. Yeah, I have defined here double time this sample. So I'll just take it off. I'll just have to keep router outlet. So see, router outlet is very important thing. because if you want your routing to work, you need to have this router template. Within this router template only the components will be loaded. If you don't have this, your components will not be loaded and your routing will not work. So if you define a router outlet, so automatically whenever you change the routing, accordingly the component will be loaded here. Okay, that is the reason you need to have this router outlet. So yeah, now since I'm in second, so the second one is loaded. Now I'll go to home and home one will be loaded. Okay, so both of them are working fine. Okay, so if I don't give anything, that means I have not specified either home or either second. I have not specified anything. That means when the page is loaded first time, so I don't see anything here, it is coming a white page. So I need to fix this problem. To fix this problem, I need to go back here again. I need to define a separate template. I'll use path. The path is empty. I have not specified any path after the URL, after the host name, and I want to use path match. So I want it to be matched full path. It has to match. That means it has to match the localhost. And in this case, I want to redirect to home. Okay. So what I've defined here, if it is path empty, that means after localhost, if I don't specify any path, automatically it should match the complete path whatever I have specified it here. Okay, and it should redirect to home. Okay, so that is the thing I have defined it here. So if I come here and do it, so automatically when I press empty, it is redirecting to home and it is loading the home component. So this is the thing I required it. Okay, so that's all. I have defined a home page, and I've also loaded the second component based on the route. So this is working pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to navigate from home page to second page when I click a button. Suppose for example in real-time scenario, if you take any real-time project, if you want to navigate from one page to other page, you must be having a button or maybe an anchor tag or anything. So when you click on that anchor tag or button, it will navigate from one page to other page. The same capability I want to give to my application. So to do that, I will go to sample component.ts. Here inside this sample component.ts, I will add a button. So I will name it as button, and inside this button I will place something click, and I will write something called click event. Okay, so yeah, here I need to provide click here. So that is the method I'm defining it here. I want to navigate from this sample component to second component. Okay, so that is the reason I have written it here, click here function. So in Angular, if you want to define a method, if you want to define an event, you need to have a special syntax. So it has to start from braces. It has to start something like this, and you should define method, and this is the syntax. So I want to have click event to be triggered here. Okay, so to navigate that, I need to have something called a special component, special module I need to download, that is import, that is Angular / router, and it should be router. So router module I have to import. So once this is imported, I need to access it inside my, so it will be constructed injected. So to inject that, I need to have router and define this router, and here I need to provide this dot router dot navigate. Okay, so here two options will be there, navigate and navigate by URL. So if you use navigate, you have to provide whatever you have provided in the routing module. So for example, if I take this navigate method, it will ask command and also uh, command. It will ask what is the command you want to use it. Navigate best. Okay, so now instead of this, I simply want to navigate based on my URL, so that's why I will use navigate by URL, and I need to specify the URL which I want to navigate. Okay, so I have used second. So let me run this particular thing and we'll see it here. So when I click on this, see, when I click on that, it is navigated to second module. So my second module has been moved. So when I navigate from when I navigated from my home page to the other page, other component, I have just pressed the click button and it moved from one page to the other page. This is the simple navigation. Okay, so suppose in real-time scenario, normally we'll have we have to pass the parameters. To pass the parameters, suppose while navigating you want to pass query parameters. So to do that, you need to define something like this: id slash name. Okay, you need to define this. Once you define this, so I want to pass id and I want to pass a name. These two query parameters I want to pass it. So if you want to define a query parameter, you need to declare something like this: slash colon id and colon name. Okay, now when it comes to the second component, when I navigate from my sample component, I need to pass those values. So I will pass something like this: name, id and name. I passed it here, and I want to read these query parameters. To read the query parameter, we need to use something called, this is again from Angular route. Angular router module, and here you have something called activated route. This is the one you need to use it. So again, it has to be injected, and I will activated route. Okay, so I have defined this. Now to read that, I need to use this start route. Okay, there will be two options. So there is something called, so I need to read, let id equal to this start route dot snapshot dot params, and I just want to have id, and let dot name equal to this dot route dot snapshot dot params dot name. Okay, so these two values I want to use, and I'll just declare two parameters here, two values: id number, and I will also have name, it is a string. So I'll just not define anything, so that's why I'm using this symbol. So in this id, I'll have to this dot id and this dot name. Okay, so these two things I want to display it inside my component: id name. Okay, this is, I defined it. You can see it here. So I'm able to read the values and I'm displaying it here. For example, if I'm changing the value, so I will change the value here. So if I have changed the values, I'm able to read those values here, and whatever values I passed it here, those two values have come here. Okay, so but there may be scenarios, there may be some similar scenarios, like if I want to change a value, I want to change the value and I want to change that value inside my route URL, route parameter, I want to change it. So in that case, so whatever value I have changed it, those value will not be available in my snapshot. So snapshot will only take the static value. So static value in the sense whatever is present in the route at that moment, only that route value it will take, but it will not take the value which is dynamically changed it. So if I have changed this query parameter values, and if I want to navigate from here to one other page, that will not be reflected. So to do that, I have something called another way, this dot route. Okay, and this dot route, you need to use something called params, and you need to use subscribe, and here param. Okay, now I'll just commented it out. This dot id equal to param colon id. This dot name equal to param dot name. You should also see the same result before. Okay, so the values have come and populated. Okay, so but the only difference between snapshot and subscribe is snapshot will take the value which is statically present in that, but if you have changed that route, that will not, we cannot take that value in the snapshot. So the other approach is subscribe. So you have these two options. So you need to define the, if your route, if you are not changing the route, and the route you will take directly whatever is present in the previous page to here, then you can go with snapshot. But the value, if you are going to manipulate or if you're going to change in this current component, then the better approach is you need to go with params way. So this will actually work on that. So we'll try to see that, so how that works. So let me have this control KU. Okay, so now what I will do is this dot, so we'll use the same concept whatever we have used it here. And we'll have to take a router module that I will place it here. Okay, and let me take this same thing, second component dot HTML. I have placed it here. Instead of this I will use, okay, so I have changed it, the route I have changed it, I'm changing the route. Let us see whether snapshot will take my values whatever I have changed. So let me go back to my home page and click on this, has come. See, now you are able to observe it here. So I have changed the value, but still it is showing one name and Suresh. That means it has not taken the values which are dynamically I have changed it in the route. So that is the snapshot. But if I have to use, if I use the route params, control KU. Okay, we'll see this, how this works. Let me go back here, click, see the whatever value has changed it here, the same value as reflected here itself. So that is the difference between snapshot and subscribe. So so that's all. Thanks for watching the video, and if you like this video, please subscribe and please hit the like button. Thank you.